Well, I hope everybody enjoyed the 20-run affair that we all were able to witness on Wednesday, because unfortunately for the Rocky fan, it appears they have reverted back to form, losing Friday's ball game to the San Francisco Giants, the series opening game, by a final score of 11-4. Just a disappointing game for the Rockies. They got owned. The lineup was bad tonight. And I think the really bad part of all this is Kyle Freeland did not look good. His first bad start since coming back off the injured list, where he's actually looked pretty good in recent memory. But we'll break it all down on tonight's episode of your Locked On Rockies postcast, as the Rockies fall tonight to the Giants 11-4. Let's break it on down, folks.
You are Locked On Rockies postcast, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
It is your Locked On Rockies postcast. Hope everybody is doing well out there on this Friday night. It's almost Saturday morning. It's about 11 o'clock here local time in the Mile High City, as the Colorado Rockies, unable to get the job done tonight, unable to keep the momentum going, as they fall to the San Francisco Giants by a final score of 11-4. The Rockies now at 38-66 on the season. The San Francisco Giants are at 50-55, so not much better than the Rockies. And remember, these two teams faced off just about a week ago at Coors Field, where the Rockies managed to take 2 out of 3 games, but off to a rough start in this one, as Kyle Freeland got absolutely shelled. And unfortunately for the Rockies, their offense after score, I was concerned. I got to do the FanDuel read here in a minute as well. And I had a buddy text me today, "Ooh, Rockies, Giants aren't so good. Rockies are kind of hot. Should I bet the Rockies?" And I said, you know what? I don't know. They scored 20 runs on Wednesday. They have a day off on Thursday. It's all going to balance out probably in the wrong way for the Rockies, or regress to the mean, rather, I should say, with what we've seen with the body of work with this Rockies ball club this season. But nonetheless, it is a disappointing game for the Rockies, as this now marks, it's hard to believe. It's actually not that hard to believe when we're talking about the Rockies. 9 consecutive losses for Colorado in San Francisco, playing against the Giants at Oracle Park. So for whatever the reason, the Rockies have really, really struggled. Like I said, they took 2 out of 3 against San Francisco earlier this season, just last week, at home there. And the second they go on the road, it's just like everything kind of crumples up for them. And here's the other thing about going on the road. This was another discussion that I was having with a buddy of mine, where he's a pretty, I don't know, a little bit more than a casual baseball fan. Like, he doesn't follow it on a day-to-day basis like I do, or, maybe like most of you out there do. But, he knows the Rockies. He follows, he keeps up with it and whatnot. And one of the questions he was asking me about not so long ago was that of the altitude. And, why is that such a factor? Why do the Rockies not figure out a way to, manipulate that into their own favor, whatever it might be? And the interesting part about the altitude, and I've gathered this from talking to players that have played with the Rockies in years past, talking with players that are former players, that are now retired, maybe working in media, whatever it might be. In addition to baseball being different at altitude, right, where the ball flies, the curveball doesn't break as much, right? There's a couple of moving parts that come with playing at altitude on a consistent basis. But the crazy part, and maybe that wasn't the case here tonight, but it is something that I have heard time and time again, for the Rockies in particular, the difficulty of playing at altitude isn't always when you're just at altitude. It's when you go from playing at altitude to coming back down to sea level. And you have to kind of reinvent the wheel, or readjust, reacclimate yourself to that style of play. Like, now, I'm not talking like, it's not apples to oranges here. It is very much apples to apples, but it's like a green apple versus a red apple. This is kind of how I put it, right? So like kind of two different flavor profiles, 2 different types of, all that kind of stuff. So it's still baseball. It's still the same game, but the sport is just a little bit different. There's a couple of minor tweaks, a couple of things that happen, when the Rockies, go from playing at altitude for a while to going back down to sea level. And the reason I bring that up is because the Rockies had, what was that, a 10-game or they went 4 and so a 6-game homestand, I want to say, with those series victories over the San Francisco Giants. And then who did they score 20 runs against? How am I forgetting this? What is wrong with me? This was just a couple days ago. Rockies score. This is embarrassing. Who is that against? Oh, against the Boston Red Sox. That's why, because I knew it was kind of an outlier type of team. Like I knew it wasn't just like another random National League team or a bottom feeding National League team. But the reason that I started the postcast with this tonight is because they lose tonight in pretty convincing fashion, and they just looked off. Kyle Freeland was off, the lineup was off. Everything about this game was off. Essentially from the get go. As the Rockies drop this game to the San Francisco Giants, and again, that is now 9 consecutive victories for San Francisco against the Rockies at their home ballpark. So the Rockies have struggled to get it going in San Francisco. And look, they're a streaky team right now. And as much as I want to enjoy and live in the moment that was the 4-2 homestand with those great series victories against the Giants and the Red Sox, you got to turn the page. And now the Rockies are going to be faced with a traditional doubleheader tomorrow with 2 evening games. So, they're going to have to get right back to the office tomorrow night and see if they can right their wrongs. And, we'll spend a majority of the second segment here talking about Kyle Freeland because I was disappointed by his start tonight, as was he, as was everybody. But I hope that's not a sign of things to come for Kyle Freeland, because those 4 or 5 starts coming out of the not even coming out of the All-Star break, but when he came back off the injured list, he was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal in those starts. And he reverted, back to early season Kyle Freeland form before he ended up going on the injured list. But, here's the thing. Regardless of Kyle Freeland's outing tonight, the Rockies offense did not do themselves many favors. It's not like the Rockies were going to win this game. I know that they were able to score some runs there in the 8th and the 9th innings. But at that point, if you're a regular listener to the postcast, what I say is when you bury yourself early, it just makes it harder and harder and harder to crawl yourself out of these holes that you put yourself in. And look, you want to tip of the cap to the Rockies for fighting till their very last out, scoring some runs there in those last 2 innings, despite a massive deficit. But at the end of the day, it's too little too late for this Rockies offense. But looking at it tonight, and it's funny, I tweeted this out. You can follow me on social media at Media by AP. It seems like out of every 10 Rockies games, 8 of them follow the same script. And that script is bad offense outside of guys named Ezekiel Tovar and Brenton Doyle. And that actually held up tonight because Brenton Doyle and Ezekiel Tovar both have themselves decent nights at the office. Actually, they are responsible for driving in 3 of the Rockies' 4 runs tonight. So it's lifeless offense with the exception of Brenton Doyle and Ezekiel Tovar. The rest of the lineup just being absolutely pitiful. And a combination of either bad starting pitching and bad bullpen pitching or one or the other. And it just feels like I said, out of every 10 games that this Rockies team plays, it feels like that is the script that is followed. And, that wasn't the case against the homestand, or during the homestand, rather, I should say. So a little bit of an outlier in that sense. But when it's all said and done, it has been very much rinse and repeat with this Rockies club throughout the course of this Major League Baseball season. And I mean, looking at the lineup tonight, Ezekiel Tovar, 3 at-bats for him. He had 1 hit, drove in a run as well, struck out 1 time. He's hitting 284 now. They had Tovar and Doyle at the top hitting 1-2, and Brenton Doyle had a base hit tonight. That brought in 2 runs as well. He's hitting 278 now. But again, the middle of this Rockies lineup just not doing much. Ryan McMahon has really struggled since the All-Star break. Remember, he was the lone representative for the Rockies in the All-Star game, but he is 0 for 4 tonight with a strikeout. Chris Bryant got a hit, though. So I guess, the Rockies, $100+ million man is at least, trending in the right direction. I got to have a little fun with that with Chris Bryant. But really outside of that, guys, I mean, it was a rough night at the office. Brendan Rodgers, 0 for tonight. Elias Diaz drove in a run on a sacrifice. Was that a sacrifice? Or he grounded out. So fielder's choice. He brought home a run there. Michael Toglia with a base hit. Jacob Stallings with a base hit. And Hunter Goodman 0 for tonight with 2 strikeouts. But the Rockies muster up only 5 runs in this game compared to 12 strikeouts for their offense in 31 plate appearances. So just not a lot working against the San Francisco Giants team tonight. And like I said, we'll spend a majority of the second segment here talking about the starting pitching. But, Kyle Harrison, the starter tonight for the San Francisco Giants, was absolutely on point. Pitched into the 7th inning and just had the Rockies hitters guessing all night long. And Mr. Harrison has actually had a pretty rough season outside of teams named the Colorado Rockies. He's pitched very, very, very well against Colorado and has, sputtered and struggled against some of the other teams across Major League Baseball. So a disappointing loss for the Rocks tonight after that 6-game homestand where they did themselves some favors. Again, this is not a Rockies team that is contending for the playoffs. This is not a Rockies team, that is, when I say, they have that successful homestand, like, to me, it's about building confidence and showing what you have for the future and showing the direction in which you're going as a franchise. And to see them just get absolutely wiped out tonight in a non-competitive game, it's just, you take a step forward, then you take 2 steps back. That is the story of the season with this Colorado Rockies ball club. But all right, let's hit a quick break. When we come back, let's dive into the pitching matchup tonight as the Rockies fall to the San Francisco Giants 11-4. Kyle Freeland struggled, and Harrison, the starting pitcher for the San Francisco Giants, did his job, kept the Rockies hitters guessing all night long. So let's hit a quick break. We'll come back and do just that right here on your Locked On Rockies postcast. Back in a few. All right, you guys, let me tell you about our friends over at Booking.com, because this episode of your Locked On Rockies postcast is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially for travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're talking about your rival cities. So we're talking about San Francisco, where the Rockies played tonight. We're talking San Diego. We're talking Phoenix. We're talking Los Angeles. And our friends over at Booking.com, if you're going to travel to any of those cities, the rival cities, be sure to check them out, because with hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay even in your baseball rivals city. So, maybe you want, I've heard great things about these garlic fries that they got. I've never been to the San Francisco Oracle Park Stadium out there in San Francisco, but I have heard great things about the food, in particular the garlic fries. So if you're out there for San Francisco, or if you're out there for this Rockies Giants series, hopefully you booked your hotel or your stay with our friends over at Booking.com. If not, well, that's just something for you to keep in mind whenever you book your next trip to go see the Rockies on the road, because there's absolutely no better place to reserve your stay than with Booking.com. From hotels that overlook stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the United States for your summer travel this Major League Baseball season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com on the site or in the Booking.com app. Again, Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Let them know that Locked On Rockies sent you, and enjoy your travels this summer, folks. And let me also tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, because I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer games. And well, guys, the sports, they just aren't sportsing like I want them to, but FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers, not just new customers, but all customers, with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. And I can confirm this because I am an active FanDuel user. I'm getting my boosts. I'm getting my bonuses every single day. I'm having some fun playing the numbers with the baseball. We got the Olympics now starting back up. You can bet all of that on FanDuel. And what I'm most excited for, my favorite sport to bet, we've got football coming up on the horizon. College football start here in about a month. The NFL about 5 or 6 weeks out as well. It's coming up here, folks, so make sure to get your action in with our friends over at FanDuel. And as I always like to say when I do these reads, if you're a diehard Rocky fan, if you're watching these games every night, look, they're not going to win every game. They're going to lose a lot more games than they win. So if your heart desires, you can go ahead and bet against the Rockies. Now, hear me out, because this is what I like to call a little bit of an emotional hedge. You either bet against the Rockies and win your bet if they lose the game, or if the Rockies win the game, emotionally, you win. So check out our friends over at FanDuel.com. Bet responsibly, though, guys. At the end of the day, have some fun with it. Don't go crazy unless you have the means to, obviously. But be sure to check out our friends over at FanDuel.com. Responsible gaming, all that good stuff. And check them out, because FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. And all the sports are on the horizon, and all the action you could ever dream of is available over at FanDuel. All right, welcome on back into your Locked On Rockies postcast. Hope everybody is doing well out there on this Friday night. It is July 26th. It's crazy. It's already about to be August. I mean, the days just fly by. Before you know it, it'll be Thanksgiving. I mean, it is absolutely nuts. But regardless, Want to thank you guys so much for tuning into tonight's episode of your Locked On Rockies postcast. Always a blast to do these shows. Even when they lose, I'm living out a dream. I get to talk about the Rockies, as a job. At the end of the day, I can't complain. So I hope you guys are having a good night out there. And look, I know the team isn't very good right now, but at the end of the day, there's a reason to be optimistic, right? You got Ezekiel Tovar, you got Brenton Doyle, you got a couple of guys here. You had that series victory against the Giants last week. So, and that's the thing, the series isn't over. They got 2 games tomorrow on Saturday. Let's see if the Rockies can put themselves in a position to win this series. But if you want some additional Locked On Rockies postcast content, make sure to subscribe to the Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. Where you'll be able to find this Locked On Rockies postcast after just about each and every Rockies game the rest of the way. And I know we're working on some stuff for basketball season. I know we're working for some stuff on football season. So be sure to subscribe to that Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel so you never miss what is coming down the pipes. And I know my guy Paul Holden will have you covered on the standard Locked On Rockies podcast. I'm sure he's got some thoughts as the Rockies lose tonight by a final score of 11-4. Again, they're 38-66 on the year. The Giants now at 50-55. But before we dive into Kyle Freeland's start, kind of piggybacking off of the last segment here, let's look into the numbers for the San Francisco Giants. And again, this is now a 9-game winning streak for them at home against the Colorado Rockies. So the Rockies have now gone 9 consecutive games traveling to San Francisco. That's essentially the equivalent of 3 consecutive series without winning a game. I'm not even talking about when was the last time the Rockies won a series in San Francisco. Dare I say the Nolan Arenado era? Because I mean, if they've lost 9 in a row at this point, that's going back at least to last year. So we'll see what happens here. But the reason I want to start with the Giants is because starting pitcher Kyle Harrison tonight was absolutely dominant. And this is his 4th start this season against the Rockies, and he has been absolutely sharp in all 4 of those starts. So looking at his line for tonight's game, Kyle Harrison, he finishes with 6 2/3 innings pitched, only gave up 1 hit. The Rockies got 1 hit in 6 2/3 of innings of work from Mr. Kyle Harrison here. He gave up 1 earned run in this game, walked 2 batters, and punched out 11. 11 Rockies striking out today in 6 2/3 of innings worth of work. And let me see here. I think the Rockies only struck out 12 times. I shouldn't say only. They struck out 12 times tonight, did the Rockies. And so 11 of those are responsible from the arm and the pitches from Kyle Harrison, who, like I said, is dominant. He improved to 6-4 this season. But like I said, this has been his 4th start of the year against the Rockies. And tonight he goes 6 2/3, only allows 1 earned run. But he's just cleaned up against this team all season long. On May 7th, 7 innings pitched, no earned runs in that outing there. May 18th, 5 innings pitched, he had 3 earned runs. So, a little bit of a drop off there, but then he bounced right back there about a month later on July 19th, where he pitched 5 innings of scoreless baseball against the Rockies. And that was in last weekend's series where the Rockies came back to win late. And then tonight follows it up with 6 2/3 innings pitched and only allowing 1 earned run to pair with 11 strikeouts tonight. So Kyle Harrison had the Rockies hitters guessing all night long. And hopefully the Rockies will be able to bounce back. Hopefully they'll be able to, they're not going to be going up against him tomorrow. So, and they got 2 games tomorrow. So they're going to have ample opportunity. They're going to have plenty of at-bats to, try to right their wrongs here in this one. But speaking of righting their wrongs, Kyle Freeland, man, he's going to have to try to right his wrongs when he's back up on the bump today. He really struggled, did Mr. Freeland. 4 innings pitched for Kyle, gives up 8 hits, 6 earned runs, 1 walk. But here's the crazy part. He pitched 4 innings, but he struck out 8 batters. So what does that tell you? Obviously, his pitches were working a little bit. So call it soft call it what you ever want, call it whatever you want to call it. Good hitting, professional hitting, whatever. But the fact that Kyle Freeland struck out 8 tonight, I think gives me a little bit of optimism that hopefully this is just, more of a speed bump than a legitimate bump in the road. Because Kyle Freeland has been very good for this Rockies team since coming back off of the injured list. I'll pull up his most recent starts here just so we can kind of compare and contrast them together. Let's see. So he went on his last start before he went on the injured list was on the 14th of April. And then his first start off the injured list was against the Washington Nationals on the 23rd of June. And that start, he went 6 innings pitched, 1 hit, no earned runs allowed, and 4 strikeouts. He followed that up on the 30th against the White Sox with 6 2/3 innings pitched, 7 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. So another quality start there. And that's been the trend. Since coming back off of the injured list, Kyle Freeland has gone at least 6 full innings in each one of his starts, with the exception, of course, being tonight, where he only finishes with 4. He's threw 7 really strong innings against the Kansas City Royals on the 5th of July. Only give 1 earned run in that outing, 5 strikeouts. He dominated against the Reds on the 10th, 6 2/3 innings, pitched 8 hits, 2 earned runs, 9 strikeouts in that game. Think about that. He had 8 strikeouts tonight, and he pitched 4 full innings, and he had 9 strikeouts against the Reds, and he pitched 6 2/3. And then his most recent start against the Giants, not the one tonight. Well, I guess that wouldn't be the most recent, but his second to last start against the Giants. The Rockies won that game 4-3, and he pitched 6 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs allowed, 2 of them earned, and 4 strikeouts for Kyle Freeland. But the other reason I bring this up is the Rockies had won 4 of Freeland's last, last 5 starts. Leading into this game today. So he really struggled in this one. Like I said, he still punches out 8, and his ERA is sitting at 6.23, his record's at 2-4. So, when it comes to Kyle Freeland, guys, look, we know he's going to be a little up and down, a little hot and cold. You kind of have to take the good with the bad, right? I think we all kind of know who he is as a pitcher at this point. It looked like he had gained a lot of momentum. It looked like he was really settled in there, coming off the injured list. And for whatever reason, that was not able to carry over to tonight's game. So we'll see if Mr. Freeland can bounce back. That would be a great thing for the Rockies. But like I said, I'm not personally sweating it a ton right now. I think we can allow, that's the thing. The Rockies, whether Kyle Freeland pitches good or not, as good as the wins are, right, it's not going to change the overall outcome of this season. I think the big thing for me with Kyle Freeland is consistency. What does he do in the next start? Is it truly just a speed bump, or is this going to evolve into that bump in the road? Is this going to turn into a pothole? Is this going to turn into a roadblock for Kyle Freeland? Because I'm not expecting Kyle Freeland to go, 4 quality starts in a row like he had been leading up to this game tonight. But at the end of the day, we know that this Rockies rotation definitely has some holes to fill. German Marquez back on the injured list. Antonio Senzatella is not back yet. So, for Kyle Freeland, who's been pretty good since coming back off the injured list, to sputter here today, I think is obviously not great, but I think there's probably some holding of the breath here for the Rockies fan of okay, it felt like maybe he was settling in. Maybe that injury really was bugging him at the beginning of the year. And then to come back and follow it up with the start today is obviously disappointing. But that's baseball. As Buddy Black likes to say, he'll get back out there in about 5 days or so. And as I mentioned, try to right his wrongs. But it wouldn't have mattered either way, even if Kyle Freeland had gone out there and dominated, just because the Rockies' offense was lifeless in this one. The Rockies, let's see, they scored their first run of the game in the 3rd inning and then nothing until the 8th inning. They scored 2 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th, and that's all she wrote, as the Rockies generated 4 runs off of 5 hits and also committed an error in this game. So Freeland not good. Let's look for him to bounce back, and we'll see where we can go from there. But all right, let's hit our final break. When we come back, it's already time to put a bow on the show. Man, these shows just absolutely fly by. So stick with us. A couple of closing thoughts here, and then we'll also take a look ahead at what's going down tomorrow, as the Rockies are going to play at least 18 innings with a doubleheader tomorrow night. Stick with us. We'll be back right here on your Locked On Rockies postcast in just a few minutes. All right, you guys, let me tell you about our friends over at Supply House, because you're going to want to get your supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business, and talk to a real person every single time. I cannot stress that enough. I love that you don't have to deal with the computers or the AI. With our friends over at Supply House, you're going to talk to a real person every single time. Plus, pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/T-M and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Once again, folks, be sure to check out our friends over at Supply House, supplyhouse.com. Let them know that Locked On Rockies sent you. If you're working in the skilled trades, be sure to take full advantage of that free Trade Master program. iron sharpens iron, and our friends over at Supply House are going to take great care of you. So check them out. Let them know that Locked On Rockies sent you, and away we go. All right, welcome on back into your Locked On Rockies. Oh, I should probably pull this lower third down. Hold on. There we go. All right, let's start that over. 3, 2, 1. All right, welcome on back into your Locked On Rockies postcast. I'm your host, Aniello Piro. You can follow me on social media at Media by AP. And if you want to go ahead and subscribe to the Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel, I would greatly appreciate it, where you can find each and every episode of your Locked On Rockies postcast, in addition to some of the new stuff that we're working on with Broncos season on the horizon, Buffs football season on the horizon, Nuggets season slowly creeping back up. So make sure to subscribe to that Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel, as we're going to keep the content coming. But I see my boy DB here in the comments section. Can't be perfect every game. K-Free will bounce back. I agree, DB. I agree. And DB and I were actually at Broncos training camp earlier today. And look, I don't know how much worse the Rockies, Broncos, they've both been pretty bad for the last 4 or 5 years, it seems. So, if the Broncos are trying to bounce back, I'm sure the Rockies can too. And look, that's the thing, man, and I know that there's always a little bit of an emotional tie with Cal Freeland because he's the local kid, right? Went to Thomas Jefferson High School. Like, we all love Cal Freeland. And I think it does hurt a little bit more when you see the local kid sputtering, when you see the local kid struggling. But like I said, Kyle Freeland's a great pitcher. I know he's been through some ups and downs here in the last couple of seasons and whatnot, but I'm a Kyle Freeland guy. I'm confident that he'll bounce back. Do I think he'll be as dominant as he was in those 4 or 5 starts coming back off the injury list? Probably not, but you're looking for just quality over quantity at this point. Like, if Kyle Freeland can go out there and, give up 3 or 4 runs, keep you in ball games, like for the Rockies, that is a win right now, because so often, like I said, when I started the show, 8 out of 10 games follows the same script. And more often than not, it's a combination of bad starting pitching or bad bullpen pitching or both. So that's what I'm saying is as bad as Kyle Freeland was tonight, you kind of just have to take the good with the bad, because that's just going to happen right now, especially with this current state of the team. But just a disappointing game for the Rockies overall, as they lose tonight 11-4 to the San Francisco Giants. And looking at the scoring tonight, like I said, Ezequiel Tovar and Brenton Doyle doing their thing. Ezequiel Tovar drove the first run of the game home for the Rockies in the top of the 3rd inning via a sacrifice fly. And what's crazy is the Rockies at that point were only down 3-1. So they had an opportunity, if they were able to get their offense going, to do something, but unable to capitalize. The Giants then blew it open there in the bottom of the 4th inning. Jorge Soler with a RBI single that made it 4-1. Tyler Fitzgerald, his 7th home run of the season, that made it 6-1. And then it all just kind of compounded there. But lo and behold, there in the top of the 8th inning with a couple of runners on, Brenton Doyle, his 3rd triple of the season, drives in a couple of runs for the Rockies. That narrowed it to 8-3. But as is indicative of the final score, 11-4, that was basically all she wrote for the Rockies, as Elias Diaz added the final run, rather, I should add, of the night there in the top of the 9th inning with a fielder's choice that ended up scoring a run. But that's kind of the story of the game here tonight for the Rockies. Just bad offense and bad pitching. They were unfortunately pretty much out of this one as soon as it started. Like I said, I know Tovar narrowed the gap there a little bit, but it was pretty obvious from the get-go that it's probably going to be a long night at the office here for the Colorado Rockies. So we'll see what they can do. We'll see if they can bounce back here. And again, Kyle Harrison was also just on one tonight, so I think that feeds into this one as well. But before we get out of here, let's take a look at tomorrow's games. We do not have a listed starter for the Rockies for the second game. And this is a shame on me. I consider myself a purist, a traditionalist when it comes to baseball. I'm always just used to the day-night doubleheader. I didn't realize that this traditional doubleheader where they play both games at night, like I said, is traditional. It is something that was considered normal at one point in Major League Baseball. Because the first game tomorrow between the Rockies and the Giants will start at 5:05 Mountain Time, and then essentially within an hour of that game ending, they'll go ahead and play another one. So in the words of Ernie Banks, let's play 2, as the Rockies and the Giants are playing 2 tomorrow. It'll be Ryan Feltner on the mound. Oy, his record, man. He's 1-10 with a 5.19 ERA and 97 strikeouts. He's been the benefit, he's struggled to get some good luck on his side with the Rockies offense, because Feltner's numbers haven't been quite as bad as maybe they seem on paper. But he'll take on former Cy Young Award winner Blake Snell, who struggled this season with the Giants. He's 0-3 with a 5.83 ERA and 46 strikeouts. And then, as I mentioned, we do not know who's going to be the second starter for the Rockies in that second game of the doubleheader, but it looks like it will be Hayden Birdsong. tomorrow in the second game for the Giants, and he dominated the Rockies his last time out. 2-0, 3.55 ERA and 30 strikeouts. Let me pull up his stat line here real quick from his last outing against Colorado. Yeah, he was sharp in this one. This was on July 21st. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits allowed, only 2 earned runs. Did give a home run, which is where those runs came from as well, and 2 walks. He also punched out 12 batters is what he punched out in his last start. So we shall see what happens here. But Hayden Birdsong is expected to take the mound for the Giants in the second game, and it'll be Blake Snell going up against Ryan Feltner in the first game. But all right, that is going to do it for me, folks. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. The Rockies lose tonight 11-4. We'll see if they can bounce back, maybe steal 2 games tomorrow and put themselves in a position to win that series on Sunday. But that is all she wrote from the Rockies tonight. They are now 38-66 on the year. The Giants at 50-55. And away we go. But enjoy your Friday night, folks. What's left of it, we got about 30 minutes left. So enjoy your Saturday morning or your Saturday day if you're listening to this on Saturday. And we'll talk to you guys when we talk to you. So have a good night, folks. And let's see if the Rockies can bounce back and move forward. Have a good one, guys.